Alright, what's up everybody? I'm going to be doing our first video, which is going to cover two different types of multiplying fractions. Our first fraction is going to be a mixed number, which means a whole number and a fraction times a fraction. And then if you stay for the video, our second fraction we're going to work on is a fraction times a fraction. Okay, some of these have similar steps, but there are some very important things that are different about them that we need to follow. So let's go and get started on our first one. Our first problem is 2 1/4 times 2/3. If you can think back in your head, that anchor chart that's all over my classroom, there are 4 steps to help us solve one of these problems. Okay, I want you to think to yourself for a second, what are those 4 steps, or what is even my first step when I'm solving a mixed number times a fraction? Okay, 3, 2, 1, 0. Hopefully you have that step in your head. If you said your first step is to decompose your number into its whole number and its fraction, then you are correct. It's going to look something like this. This is your step 1. Remember, we have labeled each of our steps when doing this. So our step 1 is to break this into a 2 and a 1/4. Now think to yourself, what is that step 2 going to be? Okay, 3 seconds. If you said multiply our whole number times our fraction, then you are correct. That is our step 2. So step 2 is our whole number, which is 2. And we talked about how we're going to go across the river, across to the other fraction on the multiplication sign, times 2/3. Okay, and we're going to unsolve this. All right, and this is going to be kind of a throwback to how do we solve a whole number times a fraction. And on that anchor chart, if you can remember, we put a little star next to something. Okay, and that star, what it says is don't forget to put a 1 underneath your whole number, because that turns it into a fraction. All right, so we're going to put a 1 underneath here. That way it makes it much easier to multiply. And now we're going to say top times top and bottom times bottom. So 2 times 2 is 4. 1 times 3 is 3. And I'm going to box that in so I know that's my answer. All right, our third step. Think to yourself, 3 seconds, what is the third step in this problem? Okay, if you said multiply your fraction times your fraction, then you are correct. So let's go ahead and do our step 3. So here's our step 3. 1/4 times 2/3. Okay, just like up here earlier, we don't need to put any 1s or anything anywhere. We can just multiply straight across on the top and bottom. So top times top, 1 times 2 is 2. 4 times 3 is 12, and that is, okay, my second answer. Now here's the fourth and final step when doing this, and there might be some extra things after it, but you guys know those ones, okay, is what do I need to do with these 2 answers? And you're correct. We're going to add our 2 answers. So I'll come over here so you guys can see it better. Our step 4 is we're going to add 4/3 plus 2/12. Okay, now we've learned, and hopefully you have not forgotten since I know it's been so long since spring break and everything like that, but we have learned that you cannot add your numerators when you have uncommon denominators. So now there is some more steps when we're adding fractions we need to follow. Okay, we need to count by the denominator. And what that looks like is off to the side, you're going to count by 3 and 12 until you find a common denominator. So 3, 6, 9, 12. 12. Okay, I think a lot of us already knew what this was going to be. If you didn't, you need to count by each of these denominators until you find a common one. Okay, so our common one is 12. So look at this number. 3 times what equals 12? Well, either you just know it or you count. 1, 2, 3, 4 times 4. Whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. Good. Okay, now underneath it, I'm going to create, here's my step 2, create equivalent fractions. So what that looks like is I actually multiply them. Don't just write these and then don't answer it. Actually solve this. What is 4 times 4? 16. What is 3 times 4? 12. Do I need to change this number? No, I don't, because it's already a 12. I don't need to do anything with that. Okay, now here's where I check myself. Before I do my third and final step, I ask myself, do I have common denominators? Yes. I do. Did I multiply the bottom and the top by the same number? Yes, I did. So then I'm good to add. So 16 plus 2 is 18. My denominator stays the same, so it's just 18 twelfths. So your answer, this is called an improper fraction, can be 18 twelfths or 1 and 6 twelfths is your mixed number. Either one of these is acceptable. Okay, now like I said though, Atlas is going to accept either one. So if I were you, if this is your first answer you get, I would keep this. That way you don't make a silly mistake changing and getting it wrong. Okay, so here's your two answers. All right, now let's go ahead and move to our other side over here. All right, now we're going to do a fraction times a fraction. All right, and kind of what we did with this over here, we just did this for our step 3 when solving this. Okay, we're only going to focus on multiplying these. So when I'm doing this, I'm going to do the same thing I did over here. I'm going to say top times top and bottom times bottom. Well, what's 2 times 2? 4. What's 5 times 3? 15. That's it. Okay, when you see a fraction times a fraction, you should be like wanting to see that in math class, because that took me probably 10 seconds. You can go back here and maybe look in a second. That took me 10 seconds to talk through how to do it. Okay, so we're going to do top times top and bottom times bottom. What I see a lot of students, and I've said this before to you guys so many times, I see a lot of people do is you start counting by denominators and changing fractions and trying to do that. There's no need to do that. You only have to do that when you're adding or subtracting. When you're multiplying, you can just say top times top, bottom times bottom. Super easy, okay? So, hope you guys get that one. If you have any questions, ask me or the teachers in the room with you. And hope you guys do well. Good luck.